All right, guys, welcome to another exciting edition of Event Future, the webinar series where we look at the future of professional events and how the digital paradigm basically is changing running events and all the exciting new technology that's coming out. Today we are going to talk about creating a digital strategy for an event. If you don't know what that means, that's essentially how do you get your event online in a super simple but also effective way so you can actually reach a much larger audience and also create more value for people attending your events. With me today, I have a most distinguished guest, Maria Villablanca. She is a highly renowned events expert, been running hundreds of events throughout the years. She used to be the CEO and group manager of World Trade Group for 10 years. And now she's the group CEO of Accucore, one of the companies really taking this big shift or this big jump into the digital world and running events in new exciting ways. First, I'm going to talk a bit about basically why are we interested in the digital or how the internet is changing events. I'm going to show you an example of how we've solved this or tried to solve this with Conferize and how easy we actually make it getting events online. And then we're going to go over to Maria and talk about her experience with these things and hopefully have a good conversation about that. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to now go to the screen share where I have a few slides. We normally don't have a lot of slides in this show because it's all action and not too much prep. But this time we actually have a few slides just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So I'm going to go to the screen share right now. So as I said, we want to talk about digital strategy. Essentially, that just means how to get your event online in a good way. We all know why events are super exciting because there are some exciting people, some bright minds on stage sharing these wonderful ideas that will inspire us in our workplace and our life in general. There's also these wonderful people that you can meet, and sometimes it's pretty hard to be effective in the workplace or whatever you're doing in life if you don't meet and know the right people, and that's obviously where events come in. Finally, there's also the emotional aspect of getting out of the office, getting out and doing something exciting. Here's a slide from, or a picture from Burning Man, which may not be a professional event, but it's actually where a lot of CEOs go to get inspiration and definitely have something other than the average week at the office. So that we all know why events are cool, but the way we see, or at least I see things, is that events are not really connected well to the web. So we have an illustration here where everything that happens inside the event is sort of inside a black box. That's what I call it anyway. It means that all the engagement, all the presentations, all the audience interaction, everything that's actually happening is not really connected to the web. And one way you can see that is that every time you have 100 people inside for an exciting event, you will sometimes have as much as 10 times or 10x 1,000 people on Twitter, elsewhere, Facebook, trying to figure out what's actually happening inside. And of course, this is a 90% unserved potential. What if there's a way that you could actually help these people understand and connect with what's actually happening inside the event? So the solution to that is essentially building what we call an event community, where you serve the 100%. And of course, there are two main stakeholders in this. There's the organizers themselves, and there are the attendees. And the value of doing this is kind of obvious. It's for the event organizers, you get your events online easier and smarter to get basically a much bigger impact. So you can increase your attendance by reaching many more people. You can also help improve the event attendee experience by serving or offering a social networking, like pre-conference matchmaking or following up with people you met after the event, as well as content sharing and all the dynamics that's in the community is now online and really proves, it's just immense difference creating this much more impact. And for the attendees, it's kind of obvious because sometimes you can't get to the event, but maybe you want to follow it, at least get the gist of it. We don't see this as competing with the actual event, because nothing beats attending in real life. But if you could get the gist of it and maybe be part of this community, so you'll get notified next time this event is coming up, there's a lot of value in that. Finally, if you could also actually discover events that you thought you weren't interested in, but maybe there's an event that you never heard of that's comes across your mind through the internet. That would be awesome if you just register, and of course, now that you know what it's all about, you feel much more comfortable registering. And finally, there's also the improved attendee experience, and I think more and more attendees are starting to expect some sort of digital assistance when they actually do attend events, primarily around meeting the right people and following the conversations and the content being produced. All right, so I'm going to exit the presentation here, like this. And I hope that really gives you a really simple idea of what this is about. I'm now going to go to Conferize, where we've been working with these things for a few years now, trying to make this accessible and easy for anyone running events, professional events, how to do this in real life without knowing too much about technology. So I'm going to go to Conferize. I'm going to share my browser here. I'm going to find a live event that's taken place a few months ago, but of course it's still live. It's a beautiful event in Stockholm called Stockholm Tech Fest, which is one of the region's most popular events. What you see here is an event page. It's similar to a website, but it lives on Conferize, so you don't need to think about web hosting and doing all the design and coding and all the things you normally do to get a website online. This is done really simple, just by adding a few bits of information, some graphics, and everything runs automatically from there. As you can see in the top section here, you have a beautiful image that sort of is aligned with what your event is about. It could be an image of the city or of the event, of any of the keynote speakers, whichever you want to do. But it's an image because the text is, we provide that. That's something you can customize, of course, and change as much as you want. It does have a few elements you're not used to. It will actually show the size of the community and how active it is, and also the number of speakers. So already here, there's something that's not or I should say that's not great compared to most conference websites out there, at least. You will have all the basic information, location, time of and place, and all that. And then you can see there's quick access to all the other parts of this event. There's the community, the speakers, the schedule, the sponsors, and more information about the event, and of course the logo to get the branding on there. As we scroll down over the overview page here, this is where the audience, and the audience could be anyone who's following this event. Probably forgot to tell you that you can either register for this event if it's upcoming. There will be a big registration button here, of course, tying into whichever registration that you use. Or if people are not ready to actually register yet, sometimes you're just not completely sure you're going, and you're going to look at the budget, maybe ask your manager if you should go and stuff like that. But then you can follow, and following actually means that you will get a weekly digest of what's happening in this community, what's the social engagement, what are the speakers doing, any of your friends or people that you admire going to this event. All that information will basically just reach you automatically, and it's a good way to help you decide, should I attend this event and actually register for it. Then we have the media. That's a big component. I'm really excited about all the interesting stuff that's being shared around events. These are not just the presentations from the keynote speakers. It's also the content, what we call shared media from the audience. The beautiful thing is that it runs automatically. What does that mean? That actually means that if you have a hashtag for your event, you will put that into the information. I'm going to show you in a bit how that works. And now everything that gets tweeted with this hashtag, we will actually find that tweet, we will analyze it, and if it has a link to a video or a photo or presentations or a paper, we will show that as rich media like here. And we're actually going to do more than that. We will look at the most popular items. You can see the little icon here, how many engagement this particular media item had. And this runs completely automatically, and it's essentially a way to give an online audience what's actually happening, as well as the delegates saying, you know, at any given point in time, what is the most interesting stuff going on. Of course, these are just the highlights. I'm going to show you just really quickly that you have any number of events, of media associated with your event on this page. If people are interested, they can also drill down, see what happened the past day, the past week, the past hour, and so on. Or they can say, I'm just interested in the presentations, the videos, and so on. And of course, if you click someone, you're not going to go out of this event. You're going to basically just open an overlay here, so the user doesn't get confused, doesn't really leave your event. Everything happens here, even if this is an Instagram or it's a YouTube video and so on. I'm just going to show you quickly how live media will look. Sure, there's some videos here. All right, so of course, lots of videos here. And if you click to view, of course, you can, here's a YouTube video, it could have been Vimeo and so on. I'm going to stop that right there so it doesn't make too much noise. And of course, you can see the social engagement here is everything that's been said around this particular media item. You can comment and join the conversation. You can just like it, or you can share it to other platforms. And again, this all runs automatically because we know event people are super busy, and especially at the time of the event, they don't have time to do this. So all of this runs automatically. You can even embed it on your website, the most popular media, or you can actually project fresh media at a large screen at the event, so people can actually take part of the conversation. All right, so I'm going to quickly just jump back, show you the other elements of the overview page here. One of the other most valuable things at this event page is the community. This also is a built-in part of Conferize. I'm going to drill in, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when you are looking to engage with the community. This is a beautiful tool before the event as well as after the event. If there is someone that you met that you didn't get their contact details, you can go back and find them here. Basically, you can quickly connect with your friends from LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook if you just want to follow people that you know from there, or you can do it more targeted. You know, saying I want to find people who are interested in the same interests that I have, or that's from a particular location or a particular organization, or maybe I want to find designers or CEOs or whatever. I can also filter and say I just want to see the attendees, because that means that's people who've actually bought a ticket, so these are people you can meet at the event, or I can find the organizers and the speakers. So basically here you can find anyone that you're interested in. Here's, for instance, the organizer of the event here, that's Tyler. And everyone will, of course, have a rich profile, so you can read more about them. I'm going to open up Tyler here. You can see a bit about what he's doing. You can actually book him as a speaker because he's also a speaker, or you can message him and set up a meeting for meeting at the event. I'm going to close Tyler here. And just quickly go back to the overview page just to give you a sense of what else is here that we offer out of the box. Because one thing is finding the audience or people at the events. Another thing is actually, having them contribute to making this a better event. We have a thing we call burning questions, which are essentially questions that event organizers will just put online, and the community will actually start answering these questions, creating this hub of knowledge or pre-conference excitement. Here's an example, a very straightforward. What are you looking forward to? Question. You can see there's 8 answers, and people can actually go and see, what are people interested in exploring and seeing at this event. Of course, that's good information for the audience, but it could also be, burning questions around the conference theme or anything else that you might be interested in actually having people answer. Of course, we also have what we call real-time engagement. Everything that happens or that people do is captured right here. And the interesting part of this is that you can actually see the community will live on past the event itself. And of course, this is what most event organizers are trying to transcend the 1 or 2 days or 3 days that the event is running. This is actually the way to do it. Finally, there's a beautiful component here. Obviously, the speakers are front and center. They will also have profiles, and people can follow them to see what they're doing in the world of events. Finally, there's right here at the bottom a beautiful slider. We call it a slider. As you can see, it's sliding automatically. It's a slightly different way to present sponsors and connect them with the community than what you see elsewhere. So you have the big, beautiful logos here. But the beautiful thing is that we have something we call going beyond the logo, where essentially there's a person or a company tied in to the logo, or the company, of course, where you can connect with the representative for this company. So if I'm interested in the Tesla, I can either contact directly the sponsor rep here, or I can follow her to let her know I'm interested. This slider also is embeddable, so you can integrate it onto your blog or website to give more exposure to your sponsors. And the beautiful thing, of course, about so this event, let's say there's 1,000 people attending, but actually the community, like I said before, will be much bigger than physical attendance. And of course, you can sort of resell that to your to your sponsors to basically connect them with buyers or potential customers before and after the event as well as the extended online community. So, and you can even have a call for sponsors. So if you want to have a sponsor, you can contact the organizers directly here. So this is pretty much it. I hope you get the gist of this. So all of this is really easy to set up. I'm going to show you how it works. Basically, you're just going to click Add Event here, and we will take you through the simple steps of doing that. I can just show you the first page here. So either you can just start by typing in the title, and we will ask you for all the information. You set everything up in a few minutes. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to show what happens after, because that's essentially the same thing. I'm just going to flag a little thing here. If you are using Eventbrite, you can import your event directly from Eventbrite, which means you will have a tight integration with registration. And anyone who buys a ticket, no matter where they're buying it from, will actually be invited directly to the community, where they can meet the other delegates, see the speakers, and all the engagement going on. But let's go back to the event page. If you are the manager of this event, you can essentially just quickly jump to manage event. Now I'm going to go to the organizer's view, or the backstage view, so to speak, of this particular event. What you see here is the dashboard, where you get a quick access and an overview of all the interesting and most important things to do. You can see how well your event is growing. You can see all the basic information is correct. And to make things really simple, we have a to-do list. You can see this event organizer is at a 70%. You can also see all the sorry, I clicked the wrong one here. Here you can see all the to-dos for this particular event. Some of them are done and some aren't. But it's a really simple way of knowing how to reach 100%. You can see the community engagement score here is 100%, so this organizer has done really well. But there are still a few things you could do to actually get the most from Conferize. If there is something in the basic information you want to change, this is the same information that you will put in once you add your event. Here's the big image, here's the logo, all the basic details. You could put in a short description that's going to go on the front page if you want to. Here you're going to put in everything related to registration. Here are the metadata. This is really important because obviously this event doesn't only exist as itself, it's also connected to the general Conferize platform, where as much as 4.5 million people can actually discover this event. But of course, you need to make sure this is correct, because then you will reach the right people. And then there's information about the venue. We have direct integration with Google Maps, so people can easily follow it. And here's the schedule put right in. So all of this is looking good. There are some things that you can also do to build a community. Obviously, you can invite people. I'm just going to quickly show you how that works. Here, if you have Eventbrite tied in, you can automatically invite people from Eventbrite. You can also upload a CSV file, which is just a comma-separated document with emails from people that you want to invite or people that are attending. We'll help send out an email really simple once you've done that. Or you can also, if this is an event you've been running before, this is what we call a series. So imagine this event was running last year as well. You can invite anyone from that year automatically to the new event if there's a new event coming up. So this is really simple, very similar to any of the email services out there. You can also do some other things to promote the events. Here are quick action buttons to share easily on the most popular social networks. And here's the media I talked about. This is the stuff you can actually embed where people get kind of a live view, or we call it almost like being there even when you're not, a view of the event. This again runs automatically. It can go full screen. It can be embedded just like a YouTube video, and it's something that you can even project and have run automatically as well, like this. It runs automatically. So super simple. You can also do more burning questions like I talked about. You can ask any number of questions. Just put in a question, add a custom image, and save that, and that's going to go automatically into the community as a way to engage them. The speakers is also really simple to do. I know when I'm running events, it's a lot of work getting all the photos, the bios, and all the details from the speakers. We've tried to solve as much as that by having roughly around 50,000 profiles on speakers. So basically, you can search for anyone here. Let's say I'm someone called Martin, and you can see it's just going to quickly suggest people in the bottom here. I'm going to search for myself. Here we are with my long presentation here, and I can add that as speaker. And if I'm not already a customer or a user of Conferize, I can actually, you can put in the emails here and just directly invite them. This is something that we highly advise people to do, because the speakers are really the drivers of attention. They have a lot of followers usually on Conferize, and once they are start becoming active around your event, like sharing ideas for presentations or just sharing excitement about being a speaker, that's something that really creates a lot of attention at the event. Final thing I'm going to show you is the sponsors here. Really beautiful. I showed this in the last webinar, but I just want to show you how easy it is here. You will add a new sponsor. I'm just going to quickly show you how that works. You will add the logo, the name, what kind of type is it? Is it a gold, a silver, or you can create a new type of sponsor as well. Add in a bit of the description as well as the URL. And as a representative, you'll search for a profile, a user profile on Conferize, just as you saw with the speakers. Once you're done, you're going to click Save, and it's going to turn up right here. And you can, of course, edit, delete, and even move sponsors. You can also add a call for sponsors, like this one. So, and here you can see the final result. And here you're going to grab the embed code, just like on YouTube, copy paste this into your blog, into your website, or whatever you're using to get your event online. You can even style it to make sure it looks the way you want to. So basically, this is the way Conferize choose to solve or make it really simple to get your event online in a much more engaging way, where social networking and content sharing is built right in. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, anyone with no technical knowledge can set this up. It's just as easy as, well, it's super easy as anything that's easy, I guess. Cool. So let me just jump out of the screen share here, and I'm now going to invite Maria to back on the call here. Maria, if you can unmute your.
Hi there.
Hi there. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you with us to hear your thoughts on. Basically, because you've been running events for well over 10 years. Some of them are more private, but now with your new business, you're taking kind of a radical
Yep.
shift into basically getting your event online in a different way. Could you share some insights and how have you seen the industry's been evolving the past 10 years or so, and some of your experiences of doing this?
Sure. I think first of all, listening to the things that you were just saying, it's imperative for any kind of event organizer to understand that in order to survive in an industry with a great deal of competition, you need to differentiate yourself from everyone else out there. Any event organizer watching this will understand that the competition is very, very strong, and that one of the key ways to differentiate yourself is to offer, like you said, your clientele a better user experience, to offer your clientele credibility as well with regards to what it is that you are able to demonstrate. And I think that it's important to understand that you need this level of credibility today more so than you did a few years ago, where maybe a few years ago you needed to demonstrate good speakers to a good level of clientele, but that was pretty much it. I think nowadays clients are looking for an experience that lasts more than 2 days. And I think the opportunity to give them organized networking is something that's essential for any event organizer today. You have your passive experience events, which have been going on for, I guess, time immemorial. The idea of conferences that are very passive, and you go to them and you walk away and you probably forgot who you spoke with. But I think people are looking for quantifiable return on investment from the level of money that they put into going to an event. And that will be identified by the opportunity to network with like-minded people. And so what I've seen is the shift from an event being a very passive experience to something that's an ongoing experience. And I think using the Conferize platform, we've managed to implement a digital strategy that has worked for us pre-event, post-event, and more importantly, during an event. So as event organizers, pre-event, it's allowed us to shout about what it is that we're doing. And even if you do have a closed-door event like we have as well, it still gives you the opportunity to shout out to the right crowds, to the right people, because if you're not anyone unless you're in social media, regardless of the space that you're in today, whether you are in manufacturing, whether you're in oil and gas, whether you are in digital marketing, the fact of the matter is that the digital space is absolutely essential. And therefore, if you don't have that level of credibility, you're never going to get the audience that you need to get to your events. So pre-event, we've seen an increase in acquisition of attendees because of the fact that they're able to see the value, they're able to see the longevity of what it is that we're able to offer. And that's something that wasn't in the space 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You had to have a strong sales plan and a strong marketing plan, and that was about it. Whereas now you need to have sales, marketing, and an entirely different digital or social media strategy. And I think the beauty of the platform that you talk about is that it's all in one place.
That's cool. Could you talk about how do you see basically content, or the significance of content as something that used to be on stage for 30 minutes or up to 1 hour, hopefully not longer than that, because otherwise people will fall asleep.
Yeah.
And that was basically the way that people running events would execute that. Now that it seems to be more and more that, especially in, of course, some open sectors that has more open events, that content plays a bigger role. Because I mean, if I see Elon Musk, launching his new Tesla car, that will usually happen on stage, and that video will just basically go viral. And it seems that there are some good things about it. Really a good way to get your message out. But there might also be some concerns. Could you talk about some of the ways that you've seen people work with content in, I guess, a bigger way?
I think it's all about sharing. And I think previously an event was a personal experience that you took away for yourself, the content, and that was pretty much it. So from my experience from talking to clients, what they would mostly do is that they would go to an event, have a good event or a bad event, but if it was a good event, they'd take away that content and they would then try to vocalize that to their teams. Whereas now it's a sharing experience, which means it only makes their businesses stronger. And so if our clients' businesses are stronger, then we're stronger. So I think our experience is to make sure that we're sharing that level of content to entice people to come to our events and to entice people to communicate, which is only a better thing for us as well. Because if people are communicating, if people are talking about us, it goes viral, like you said. It goes back to the elementary principle of quantifiable return on investment, which is the fact that if you are not getting value for the money that you're putting in, albeit whether it's a conference that costs you, I don't know, €1,000, or it's a conference that costs you €200, the fact is that you want to be able to take more out of it than just what you see over those 2 days. And I think the key to that is being able to share with people prior to the event, being able to share with them after, talk about it. There were a lot of questions. I remember going to conferences myself as a conference attendee, not just as an event organizer, but you want to follow up with questions. Sometimes you don't get a chance to speak to the speaker because he's surrounded by 20 people, and it is a limited time. You have 2 days. Whereas with something like this, it gives you the opportunity to follow up. And again, I cannot stress the importance of giving that level of platform to your clientele. It will ensure a repeat attendance. It will ensure return attendance from them.
One thing that has fascinated me about, as I guess a part of the generation where, the internet was really happening, and you can sort of see the way things were before and the way things are now and where they might be heading. I think clearly the shortest way to say it was like one of my big heroes, Mark Andreessen, which is a big investor and I guess a guru in the tech world, said in 2011, software is eating the world, which sounds kind of scary, and it is scary because if you're not thinking of your company as a software company, someone else will soon have your lunch. We saw it first with information and e-commerce. We've also seen it with the travel industry and publishing, music as well, that these industries found a really, really simple way of making an impact online to a much bigger online audience, also with different business models such as streaming and stuff like that, pay-per-view. And if you follow Mark Andreessen's argument, this is going to happen to all industries. And it seems like you can see the events industry obviously having this immense impact. And for people that don't know, it's a $1 trillion industry worldwide. There's really a conference for everything, everywhere, almost all the time. Even if you don't attend more than a few events, there are at least 2 million professional conferences a year worldwide. But why do you think that it seems a bit hard for this industry to make this leap? Is it just because it's sort of bound by traditions and the legacy and the way we used to do things, or is it more like the typical concern you will have that are we hollowing out our business by more and more putting our product online because essentially our product is offline, or is it just because that there's a learning curve or someone needs to come along and make it really, really easy doing these things and not create more problems such as more platforms to maintain and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on this industry and how the internet is going to really impact this?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of the above. I think there is a generation gap. There are people that are used to running things a certain way, and a conference is something that is not, it's not rocket science. It is about getting good content and getting people to come to your conference, delivering a good experience. So we've always done it this way, and we're going to continue doing it this way. So why do we have to change? And I think that is a given for any industry. And all industries are probably facing this issue today. They're being dragged into the 21st century, into e-commerce, and some adopters have taken it on a lot quicker than others, the retail sector being one of them. We work very heavily in the retail sector. The second thing is I think that it's an intellectual property argument, whereby it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to put your content and grab people to give content to you that you own and that you are getting paying people to view. And I think that's something that a lot of event organizers struggle with, is understanding, well, if I put it out there, then what is the value or how am I going to get people to come to my event if that's already out there? It's reaching more people. So what they don't understand is that in and of itself will create more clientele. So the whole idea of viral marketing is something that is taken over the world. And it's something that needs to get into all the industries, and especially the event space, because the more people talk about it, the more activity that happens, the more chances you have of a better user experience, and a better event, and again, more people attending caliber as well, because you're able to segment people because of the fact that you're reaching them at, speaking their own language and giving them content. I think this is my belief is that this is a point in time where it's going to separate the ancient dinosaurs with the new revolutionary businesses, and those businesses that are going to survive, they're going to survive the new way of doing things, are the ones that are going to be able to transcend the original spaces and deliver better user experience and deliver more conversation. I think all in all, we live in a society nowadays where everyone believes they have the right to an opinion and commentary about absolutely everything. It used to be that only very smart people and very educated people got to give you their opinion. But now if I go to an event, I want to express my opinion about it. And my clients want to be able to give me feedback as an organizer and say, this was a fantastic session. So it's good for me as an event organizer because I'm able to ascertain what it is that my audience wants. And that's simple supply and demand. Once you understand what the demands are, you're able to supply it more effectively. I also think that it's very important to be able to gauge the temperature of the industry, and you can only do that through a digital strategy, and you can only do that through communication. But again, this is a pivotal moment in time for those people that are event organizers. I came from a background that was a traditional event organizing business that did things very old-fashioned, and now I started this business with the view to really transcend into a different space, to offer the clientele a chance to interact and network with each other year-round, and offer them the opportunity to take the information that they've learned and use it effectively for their own businesses.
I think that's really, really, I really fully share your view of how this industry is changing, and they're the dinosaurs that are big and will live on for some time, but there's really an opportunity for people seeing things differently and trying things, doing things in a different way, I guess you could say. There was these photos being shared when Obama was announced as a president. You see this view from behind the audience, and everyone is standing with their phone like this, right? And you just see all these blue screens, and this is very much indicative of the events I attend. You see a lot of screens sitting in the audience, and it wasn't like that when the former president was there, of course. And this is the shift. I mean, someone will come from the event organizers that seem to get it, like you talk about, and see this as an opportunity. But I also think that there will be a pressure from the delegate side or the user side. I, for one, when I attend events, I usually have at least 3 devices with me: my phone, my tablet, and my laptop. I try not to work, of course, but that's sort of part of it, being a business owner, I guess. But I really want to use this technology to navigate this event and actually spend my time, or get, as you say, get the full return of this investment, because it is an investment in time and money, being in the same room for 1 or 2 or 3 days with these people. And I also, usually when there's 1,000 people in the room, realistically there's like 5 to 10 people that can change your life or your business, and you need to make sure you find these people and meet with them. And I really feel this is where we have what I call irreplaceable value. I mean, meeting in the real life. This is where sort of all your social media, all your emails, all your LinkedIn connections actually materialize, and they people you want to meet is right in front of you. And there's of course nothing like this. Not even a video chat like this can replace it fully, even though it gets kind of close. But this is why I believe that events really have something profound and unique to offer. And I actually think that the whole idea of, which is maybe kind of interesting, going offline or actually putting your phone down and meeting people at the events is something that's going to be, if it's not already, a big trend, I guess, like the opposite trend of where the industry is going. But you still need that digital navigation to actually reach those people, and that's why it's important to have this digital strategy.
It is. For us, it's been very important. It's been very important for us, and I think that any organization that doesn't have it will lag behind.
That's interesting. Could you tell just a few things about your current company and how you do things? Because I think it's really interesting the way you work with providing immense value by connecting people, not just at the event but year round around a very specific niche, and some of the value that you try to provide by doing this.
Well, when I started Accucore, the vision that I had was that it was imperative to deliver value to the people that are attending events year round, and the only way to do that is by a level of continued conversation and continued knowledge sharing and benchmarking. And at the heart of what Accucore does, our business, is to have a community of people that are interacting and networking with each other to share best practices throughout the entire year. The event then becomes a reaction of what the community is discussing. So it gives you the level of agility to be able to respond to the industry. Most organizers of events, what they do is they dictate what the industry wants to hear about because they speak to a handful of people and they then create the content. Our content is created by the industry for the industry itself. We are experts at running events and we are experts at running communities, but we're not experts at the vertical sectors we work in. So we need the industry to be able to do that. And in order to do that, the platform that we have with our community is a great avenue for them to share opinions. So this is essentially taking the events experience beyond a two-dimensional passive experience of attending and having someone speak at you. We're not looking for two-dimensional or speaking at. We're looking at dialogue, and that dialogue is something that has to happen, and it does happen pre-event, online, within the community, with a select group of individuals that are industry evangelists or industry experts at a very senior level. And so it allows people to share best practice and knowledge and to share projects that they're on and ask each other for advice. And then from that, we as organizers can gauge the temperature of the industry and we can react. So we have an advisory board of members that are members of our community, but they're advisory board and they're selected because of the level of cooperation that they give us. And we are able to adjust the format and the content of our events based on the feedback that we get from the community itself. So if we determine that X number of people are interested in this one particular topic, then we are able to react, change something in the program and slot it in and get feedback in real time. So I think that level of agility and not and not sticking to a plan and a format that's set out 6 months in advance gives us some level of opportunity to give some differentiation to our clients.
This is very, very interesting. If you sort of go back from the 60s, we had something called open space. I'm sure you're familiar with it, where essentially the audience will sort of on the fly generate the program. So you have a very open session room where people can gather around interesting things to talk about. Later, maybe primarily in my world, the tech world, you had the on-conference, which is essentially just a series of rooms and open slots, and people would just say, I want to talk about cloud computing or whatever, and you would hope that someone would show up. And essentially, it's interesting because there's this whole idea of participating with a purpose, as opposed to the two-dimensional one that you talk about, where there's a smart person on stage, and I am this person in the audience being filled with knowledge, and I gracefully leave and feel filled up with knowledge, right? But I just see. Do you think this is a generational thing, or is it? Because I think maybe I'm wrong, but it seems that like most younger generations, they want to achieve something. There's a reason why they will pay time and money to go somewhere and engage with a topic at a conference they hopefully are excited about, and they want to meet people, they want to make a difference. Or is it something that's think transcends generations, and it's more a general shift in our culture? I guess you could say that both young and more seasoned people will sign up to. For instance, with your business, is it age specific, or what are your thoughts on these things?
The industries we operate in are general in terms of the age groups that we target, because our events and our communities are for very senior level people. we're talking director level or C level, generally we don't get the younger people, or very much younger people. But what we do get is we get a group of individuals that are very savvy and very aware of the evolving world. And I think that it's very evident that although there is a generational issue, and some generations, the younger generations by far, are more savvy with regards to what a digital strategy can do, I think it's important to understand that leaders within various industries are coming to grips with that, and they understand that it is very important to react to that. Things are happening very quickly, and this is affecting all industries. So you can get something that happens in a store, and demand all of a sudden goes up because someone tweeted about it. And as a result of that, manufacturing is affected because they now have a huge demand, and that affects their supply chains. And so either these people get on board with that, or they will not be able to live up to the demands of the industry. And at the moment, the consumer behaviors are such that we are dictating the economy by what we do and say online. So I think it's, although it is a generational issue that perhaps younger generations are more interested in taking more out of what they get, in terms of they understand that they have an impact, they have a voice. And you're right, going to an event where someone is speaking at you is no longer accepted, I don't think. And that's probably being driven by the younger generations because they want real life examples, and they have an opinion, and they want to be able to ask real life questions. And that might have been frowned upon 10 years ago because it wasn't the kind of social thing to do. Whereas now the social mores are dictating that everyone does have an opinion. And I think instead of shouting it out, giving people the opportunity to express themselves through social media is absolutely essential. So although we target higher level senior people, I find that they are reacting quite well to digital strategies, and they themselves are implementing them too.
Interesting. Just one final question before we wrap up here, because I feel we could go on. This is super, super interesting, and I really like hearing your thoughts on with all your experience in this industry. There are two things that often come up when you talk digital, and that's privacy and transparency. I do recognize that there are some events that where you need to sort of run it in a very close setting with lots of privacy levels. That could be political events, it could be industry events, maybe pharmaceuticals, where business secrets or intellectual property are of high concerns. What are your thoughts on? Because essentially, you say once you start adding transparency to an industry, the stuff that works will surface, and the stuff that doesn't work will also surface. And that's, of course, an opportunity for events to improve, but it's also, it might be that events, it might be sometimes damaging, I guess, if you have, it could have a negative impact on your event. That's what I'm trying to say. What are your thoughts on these issues?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that, and I have worked within very specific industry sectors that are very closed door, like pharmaceuticals. We did events in drug delivery and drug discovery, to events in mining or events in the oil and gas sector, and people generally don't share things that they don't want in the public domain anyway. So it's not that they're very secretive types of events. They may be very industry focused, and there may be information that it has to be careful about the way that it is shared in terms of the opinions. So people probably have to get a little bit savvier about the level of opinions that the opinions that they share in general. But that's, I think, is something that's occurring now anyway. Anyone has to be very careful, because what lives in social media can live forever in social media, and that's a reputational damage. I don't think it's going to affect the events industry. I think that people in general are going to be better off for having social media engagement within the events industry, because they will be able to react. They'll be able to understand what is happening there better than they would before.
Yeah, as I see, it's not really a choice anymore, because anyone will have any number of devices with hundreds and thousands of followers, and they will share what they will share. And I guess the only way to really you need to be proactive about it and join the conversation, And if there is a negative thing or conversation starting, you need to join that and not silence it, because it can be silenced, right? So I think you're right. This is very interesting, and I guess if you're a company, designing rockets or having something with a lot of IP, obviously you're not going to share that at an event anyway. So
You wouldn't. No, you're right.
interesting. All right, thank you, Maria. This has been so inspiring to me, and thanks so much for joining Event Future. For anyone listening and watching, Event Future is going to run every second week, Thursdays at the same time. You can go to eventfuture.com right now and sign up and see when we're broadcasting next time. The topic of next edition will come up shortly, but it's going to be all about the future of events today. Thanks.